Hi everyone, Enza here. Just made this quick video to go through how we might go about implementing the collaborative learning phase of the gradual release of responsibility within our remote setting. So we've had a couple of requests, a number of requests actually, from teachers across the college and across different departments. So hopefully this will be a really helpful guide for you all. So firstly, what is collaboration? I just want to take you through the definition and the key feature. Essentially, the main point about the definition is that when kids are collaborating, they should be doing so to solve a problem, complete a task, or to create a product. That's really important that they've actually got an end goal in mind when they are working together. And of course, the key feature of collaborative learning is when they are applying what they already know, what they've been taught by their teacher, and then turning to one another for support and enrichment. So really what we want to see is the students building upon one another's ideas to get that strong connection to one another and to strengthen their own ideas. So how can we facilitate collaboration through Microsoft Teams? Well, one way that we could go about doing it is by creating channels within our class teams and have students working within those channels. So basically it's similar to rearranging the furniture in your classroom and having kids working at different table groups. That's the plan. So once the channels are set up, teachers can begin a meeting for the students within that channel, and they can get going on the work that they're doing. And they can either do that face-to-face by putting their cameras on or just doing a voice call. The students then, once they're in these table groups or these channels, they can work on whichever collaborative task that you set for them. So I will take you through an example that I did in my class, but you can use any collaborative strategy you have in your own repertoire, or you can look for them on the pedagogical toolkit as well. So I'm just going to take you through this video to have a look at how you might go about setting up channels in Microsoft Teams. Okay, so in order to set up a brand new channel for the kids to work within, I'm going to go to my the ellipses next to my team name, and I'm going to hit Add Channel. As you can see on the side here, I've been naming the groups based on the kids' names, so they know which channel to go into. For this one, I'm just going to call it a test channel. And what I want to do is hit automatically show this channel in everyone's channel list. That way the kids know which group they belong to when I set the task. I'm going to go ahead and hit add. Once that test channel has been created, now what I can do is set up a meeting. And once I do that, I can now go ahead, hit meet now, and invite some students to join in the conversation. And here's one I prepared earlier. Good morning, Viv.
Morning.
Okay, so what I'm going to do while Viv is here with me, of course, I would invite all of the students who I would want to join this team. A really important thing to do is to make sure that we change the status of the children. You need to choose one student who is going to control the screen, and the rest of the students, what you want to do is hit the ellipses near their name and to make them an attendee. Once you've changed their status as an attendee, they lose some of their rights to be able to control what's happening on the screen, and I'll go through why that's important in the next slide. Okay, so the importance of making students attendees is pictured here in this graphic that I took from the Microsoft Teams webpage. Basically, once they are attendees, they're still able to speak and share video, they're able to participate in the chat function, and they're able to view whatever is being shared on the screen. The only difference is then they can't actually share their own content, so they can't take control of what's being presented, and they can't take control of whoever else is presenting. They can't mute other participants. They can't remove them. Essentially, what we're doing is trying to avoid them doing all the cheeky things that they might attempt to do because they're in this new forum. So to avoid that sort of conflict, we want to make sure we turn them into attendees. So what I'm going to take you through now is give you a sample of an activity that I did with my Year 12 groups. And what I did was this membership grid. You might remember if you were at our school last year, I took you through this strategy. We worked through the collaborative learning protocols. So it's very fitting that I chose this one because I'm about to go through them in a second. But essentially the point of it is that you provide the students, or the students create a grid with all their names on it. A single person becomes the scribe, and they work out and they write down the contributions of each team member, making everybody accountable to the learning. And that's making everybody accountable to the learning is a really important part of the collaborative phase of the gradual release. The last thing we want is for 1 or 2 kids to take over or to take charge. We want to make sure that all of our strategies we implement are really open to having every group member participate. And a way that we can do that is through the group roles, which I might talk about now. You have been provided with this list. It's on Office 365, but I will link it again. And essentially, you want to give every child a role within the group so that once they're in there, they've actually got some purpose, and they'll be less tempted to sway from the task at hand. So on top of all that, of course, we also need to go through the collaborative learning protocols. Now, you would recognize these. We went through these last year with the whole staff and particularly with all pastoral care teachers. And it was the aim of pastoral care teachers to teach these, both the group roles and the collaborative learning protocols, to their pastoral care groups. We understand that some more work needs to be done on that, and we're enlisting the support of the PBS team to take us through some mini lessons about how to teach each one of these behaviours. So that's going to really support our work moving forward, not only in the remote learning environment, but also when we're back in the classroom. So having said that, here I am. I'm going to take you through. I won't show you the whole thing. This turned into a 36-minute discussion, but I'm only going to show you a couple of snippets of my Year 12s working through this membership grid strategy.
So today we're going to be talking about Kate Grenville's The Lieutenant, and we're going to be centering around, does Rook's formative years hint at an attempt to find a sense of belonging? So I personally agree with this statement. Tyler, do you agree with that statement?
Yes, I agree with it.
Markham, do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Aiden, do you agree with that statement?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So let's talk about chapter 1. Do you have any quotes that support this statement that his formative years attempt to find a sense of belonging?
There's a lot of quotes about him being different, like the misery of being out of step with the world, and how that affects him mentally.
So as the students worked through that, I left them there. You can see I wasn't part of this conversation initially. And then I was able to come back. I was moving in between my different groups. And by the time I came back, I could see how much work they had done. But I was also able to step in, rejoin the meeting, and then add to some of their thinking. So I'll show you that now. The last point you made was about how his parents seem to be ashamed of him.
Yep.
Only when he leaves, every time he goes somewhere, the further away he goes, the more he feels like he belongs. Which I hope you could see the irony there, because a person is supposed to feel the most sense of security and belonging at home. That's what we would typically expect.
Yeah.
Well, even when he's on the ship, I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, the resolution.
The resolution, yeah, he says that this is a new start for him, and he doesn't feel like he has to like hide his identity.
Mm. Good.
All right, Markham, Oh, you didn't have one, did you? Because Hayden stole yours.
Yeah, I have nothing.
So you can see that the kids really, I think from what I could see, they were really relishing in the opportunity to be able to share their ideas with one another, because this was one of the first times that we actually had a chance to do some small group work with our group, and you can see how much work they actually did get done, so which was fantastic to see. And as I mentioned earlier, what we will be doing in relation to those protocols, we're going to have Kari and the PBS team working through some behaviour procedures to support our work within this gradual release responsibility. So PBS behaviour lessons will be made available for each of the collaborative learning protocols, and we're going to make some of them, of course, very specific to the remote learning setting. So off the top of my head, we could give credits for kids who stay within their designated channel, for instance. So hopefully this all comes together. Hopefully this makes you more confident in being able to implement some collaborative learning within your remote setting. Thanks, everyone.